Greetings and salutations. Not off, all right? Hey, tell you what. We got through another week. Come on. We made it. We made it through another week. Somehow. Together. All over the world. I'm Russ Kane. This is The Daily Show. Exclusive on Men's Radio Station. Most important of all, I thought I'd have tea today instead of coffee. The tea today, it may be a different show because if I'm not having coffee, I don't know, I could fall asleep halfway through the show. Now, does anybody out there want to buy a 13-year-old mini schnauzer? Pedigree for 5 generations. Anybody want to actually buy a little mini schnauzer called Ebony? And let me just tell you why. Ebony, like my good self, is now 13. I'm not 13, obviously. But she's getting older, right? Getting older. Which means every single night, she's up. Not once. No. Not twice. No. 3 times. Every night. That's why I look like this. Look. That's why I wear these. It's just, well, man, I'm nagged. I'm absolutely nagged. I would be so lost without her. Hello, Facebook user. The lovely Emma Webb. Hi, Em. Hi to you. And let's go and say hello to Barry J. Allen. Good afternoon, Mr. Kane. That's so formal. I like that. And everybody there. Coming in live from Manhattan. What does she do? Well, that's what I'm explaining, Lizzo. That every single night she's up. And I have to get up and I let her out. I get up and I go back to bed. Robert Van Buren, clockmaker of the stars. I'd love to, but I live in a flat. And then Asa said, oh, but you're back. Now, this is good. This is Asa Brown from New York, right? New York State. And the reason we haven't heard from Asa, he has had no power. Look, let me explain why. Out in the colonies, let's be honest, I think there was a Comanche attack on his ranch. Anyway, whatever it was, they cut them. There was no power. He had no power there. So there we go. And Elizabeth Green, like me, what? You've got no power, or you have to get up several times in the night to do a wee? We need clarification, Elizabeth Green in Manhattan. Anyway, Asa, I'm glad you got your power back. Thank goodness for that. Hey, have you noticed anything, gang? Have you? I'll do it the other way around. This is working well on Deluxe Radio. Hi, everybody. Look at this. I had my first haircut in 2.5 years. 2.5 years. Yeah, I know. Telling you now. I have been cutting my own hair, which is why it looked like crap. Cutting my own hair since January 2020 because I hadn't been to the barbers. And then a crazy little thing called COVID came in, right? And that screwed everything up because you couldn't go to the barbers, couldn't go to the hairdressers. And I just got in the habit and I bought all the stuff you need, the razors and the thinners and everything like that. And yeah, and so I've been cutting my own hair. And then it got to the stage. Oh, look, this is good. Matt Buckland, good afternoon. Nasal allergy. Can't help you, Russ. Soz. Oh, okay. Fair enough. You went to Ray's? No, I don't go to Ray's Barber. I didn't go to Ray's Barber. I should tell you where. On Looking Trim. It was very good. No, I didn't go to Ray's Barber. Ray goes somewhere in Soho. Yeah. Haircut, Ray. If you want a haircut, I got the razors, if you know what I mean. And then Ray goes, not too much off the top, a little off the side. Yeah, I want a haircut. That's Ray Brown. That's Ray Gelato at the hairdresser. Here we go. Coming in from New York. I've been designated as the family hairstylist for the past 2.5 years. Yes, that's all right. Good. What do we got here? Woohoo, Miss Kane. Nice haircut. How do you feel about going to the hairdresser, love? Oh, it was fine. Absolutely great. So I'd had some meetings in town, and I was in the fabulous German Street. It's my favourite street in London. And if you're a visitor, never been, go to German Street. It's adorable. And I saw Trumpers. Trumpers is a very, very old, famous thing. And they got a barber shop at the back. And I thought, well, you probably have to book about 8 years in advance. And I walked in and I said, oh, can you wait 5 minutes? I went, yeah, sure, I can wait 5 minutes. Anyway, He's managed to kind of sort out. Look at the back. Look, pretty good. So I'm well happy. I didn't quite want the rocking Dave look, but there we go. Anyway, better late than never is what I always say. You know him, you kind of like him, but I love him. It's only Neil Long.
Hello.
Yes. So you're very casual with your 12 o'clock appointments. I like that. I like that.
Well, I knew all the glory would go to your hair, and there was literally no point in me being here while you were getting the hair adulation.
None. Absolutely none. Robert Van Buren goes, "Hi, Neil." And then we've got, this is good. About time.
About time. I'm getting told off from all over the world. This is fantastic.
I can get insulted round the corner. I don't need to go to Manhattan, USA, to get insulted. Right.
Insulted live from Manhattan. Fantastic.
Great. I think this is great. Anyway, so that's my big news. That Ebony's up 3 times a night doing a wee, which is why I look 108. And America. That's it. Should we bring on our first guest? Well, it was a rhetorical question because I'm bringing on our first guest, which is very interesting. That's the wrong. No, it's the wrong theme tune. Here he is, Mr. Dave Bagley. Hello, Dave. I'm going to call you David. I'm going to call you David because I don't know you, and I think it would be rude.
David's good. David, I've been looking around for my mum.
Is it perhaps one of these things plugged in here?
Yes, you tell them. You tell them. What was that, Dave?
I look around for my mum if you call me David.
Oh, right. Okay, that's right. And Neil's got somebody of mystery wandering. This is great. This is what a show this is today. This is almost like Saturday Night Live, but fine.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Completely live radio. I've got someone looking for my computer power lead at the moment.
Really? Yeah, well, this would be the time to do it. That's what I say. What the hell?
Well, absolutely. Right in the middle of the show is always the best time.
It's always the best time. Let's not be silly. Right, Dave Bagley.
Good morning, Dave. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Yeah, very good.
Lovely to meet you. I've read up on your stuff, and I'm really looking forward to hearing all about it.
Tell us all about yourself, because like Mr. Long, I read up on your stuff. I thought it was very impressive, but we want to hear it, as they say, from the horse's mouth.
Well, nay to that. So I run a charity in Bolton called Urban Outreach. Along with my wife, we founded it about 31 years ago. I'm a chef by trade, and we, as a charity, are involved in lots of different things, looking after children go missing from home and family support, and work with people in the criminal justice system, rough sleepers, homeless. And we do a huge amount of work around people who are in poverty in lots of different ways, not just lack
What made you want to start this?
So it's very much part of my faith. It was my desire to do something. I had been a chef. I'd worked all over the city.
Was that you in Boiling Point?
Say again?
Was that you in Boiling Point?
No.
Or was that Stephen Graham?
Well, he was better looking than me, that's for sure. And I don't have hair that I.
You've had a better ending. We'll leave it that. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Right. So it's part of your faith, which is good. If people have faith, that's a good thing. I don't, but I'm glad that people do, because I know it's very comforting. And then all this time, Urban Outreach is a very good name. Did you come up with that, or was it Mrs. Bagley?
It was a joint effort, I have to say. I wouldn't take any credit that's not due me, but I think the urban bit was something we always wanted, and the outreach kind of suggested that was a sort of that was the adjective that we wanted to do. We wanted to be a movement rather than a monument. So outreach has that sort of movement side to it, doesn't it? So we wanted to be involved. So outreach came.
See, Neil, this is what happens. You and I sit here. I know what's going through our minds. We're going, this bloke actually knows what he's doing, and he's really clever, and that's why we're being pretty quiet. Because we're only going to show ourselves up.
I'm taking it all in at the moment.
Yeah. I like that. You're absorbing it. It like blotting paper. So it seems to me you've set your remit pretty wide, which is a good thing. I'm not being critical, but I mean, most people just say, "I'm just going to do this," and you say, "No, we're going to do missing kids," and you've got a whole menu there, keeping up the Boiling Point theme.
Well, yeah, but you know, the interesting thing is, nothing happens in isolation, does it? You know, so you start working with somebody in a situation, and then you find out. I'll give you an example. So if you were working with, say, people in the criminal justice system, and so we're working in a prison, and we're looking at housing. So we're looking at getting them out, getting them housed, and to stop them being in a situation where they'd end up reoffending.
Right.
So you look at that. That's fantastic. You know, simple job. But if you start digging into somebody's life, obviously they never got to that stage at some sort of, you know, daylight moment. It came over a period of time. And so all of our lives are made up of loads of different chapters. And for some people, those chapters are quite difficult. And so we found, working with offenders, that so many of them, as children, would go missing from home. And that's where they got involved in antisocial behavior, started messing around with the wrong stuff. And now for some, nothing goes wrong, life goes on. But for some minority, it continues to go wrong. So we thought, well, let's get in earlier. Let's go further upstream.
Okay.
And then so everything that we do has a connection to something else, which is why we end up doing what we do. So
when you say missing from home, do you mean they ran away from home, or they just sort of didn't
or they just
to school,
didn't go
or what's
home.
the deal?
Yeah, could run from school, could run from home. I mean, when I say running away, I mean it used to be a very I did it. I remember packing my bag and saying, I've had enough. Obviously, didn't do anything with it as far as I remember. But for some, things might be good at school, and so they're struggling. Things might not be good at home. Pressures of just being a young person can be quite intense. And so they make a choice, and that choice might be, I'm just not going home. And so so they'd be missing from home rather than running from home. So they may not have gone home. They get reported to the police, and then we get that.
After how long? What's the story with that? Is it 24 hours or 48 hours, or what is it?
Well, I mean, depending on your age, to be quite honest. I mean, if you were the younger you are, the faster the world moves, to be quite honest with you. I mean, if you're 16, 17 and you've not come home, then the police won't necessarily jump.
Probably having a bloody good time somewhere.
You would be having something, yeah. You know,
yes.
Life would be. Yes. You'd be thinking that they're doing something they want to do.
Right.
Of course, the younger you go, the more risk there is, and of course, we do. You know, we do have people in our communities that are not necessarily great for our children, and so if the younger they are, the more vulnerable they are.
Well, I'm just kind of curious. Why did you chose a very interesting? You said not great. They're monsters. They're monsters. They're not, it's not that they're not great. They're absolute monsters, and I have zero sympathy. No one will ever persuade me otherwise. I have zero sympathy for paedophiles. I know what I would do, but you know, people who know me probably know what I'd say. Zero sympathy. Don't care.
You know, interesting. I mean, I can concur with that. But some, I mean, there wouldn't even be paedophiles. You have people who will traffic in children. You know, so we have young people get involved in. There's a thing called county lines where adults will use vulnerable children to move drugs from one place to another drug. Of course,
this scares me. This scares me.
Yeah,
this scares me a lot.
You only get to the child. The child gets prosecuted.
Yeah, what I would like to see, if it was possible to do this in law and to facilitate, it might be a better word than enforce. There are some young people that are genuinely vulnerable, and of course they get picked on by the predators to do the county line stuff. But if they were to report, and I would like to see a place they could go to for help without being prosecuted, because the only place they can really go to, arguably, legally, is the police, who are going to prosecute them. And I'd like to see a kind of a grace in that kind of thing. If somebody genuinely wants to get out, there are places where people can go and get that help.
It's a good idea, Neil. Got to tell you, I had some experience of this, which shocked me. I was talking to a business colleague a few years ago, you know, and he'd gone to his son's room looking for something, and he found bags of £1 coins, but I mean lots, you know. So it came to quite a few bob. That's pounds over in America, and he wondered where it was, and of course the son said, "Oh, it was just change." And he said, "Well, you don't get all these bags of £1 coins change." He was a little kid, I mean, a very little kid, and it transpired that he was exactly as you've said, Dave. He was on his bicycle because he's a little kid, moving around not drugs but bullets, moving around ammunition. Could it get any scarier than that? You know, and he didn't know what was it. He didn't know what was in the bags. He was told never to look. Now, coming in from New York, we've got this Azadon Brown, who's very high up in the therapeutic community. For those that are, and I read it out, Dave, in case you think we're being belts and braces. It's because this show goes out on other radio stations as well. They take our stream, but it's only audio. It's not visual as well, so they're not seeing the captions. For those that offend, there is a direct relationship to family dynamics and the lack of familial support. Many offenders have experienced neglect, maltreatment, and abuse, says Azadon Brown in New York. Yeah.
I think that goes.
Hello, Neil. You've gone quiet.
It's very quiet.
Nope, Neil. Nope.
They say that hurt people.
You're back now, Neil. We couldn't hear you before.
Sorry,
it was like
they
a
say that hurt
ventriloquist
people.
act.
Sorry, they say that hurt people, and I get that, but it's how to deal with those people. That something's got to change somewhere, because as I said, there's these people have limited options. I did some work in Feltham Young Offenders Institution, the prison, way back. They were looking for radio in there, and I got involved with that. And most of the kids, inmates, whatever word you want to use in there, they'd done some pretty off things, but they weren't evil to the core. Far from it. If anything, there's not enough time now because it would take the rest of the program to tell about it. But I met this one incredible man there, a guy called Bob Clements, who was a prison officer. But he had a different attitude to the rest of the screws there. He would call them kids. He was like the father figure they never had, and he treated them that way. And they really responded to that.
Was it reciprocated?
Yes, they really responded. Reciprocated. He was the only prison officer that had never been attacked there, ever.
Wow.
He was quite sadly no longer with us, but he was a lovely, lovely man. A sort of very down-to-earth, normal, but yet enlightened genius in the way he dealt with the kids. And he called them the kids, not the prisoners, not the inmates, the kids. And they called him by his first name.
So what was their age, roughly?
14, 15, 16.
Oh, my God. Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah.
Now, Dave, I have to bring this round to what has this all got to do with Warburtons? Apart from I'll be honest with you, I love their adverts. How the hell they got Robert De Niro, Sylvester Stallone? Who else? They got somebody else huge. I can't remember who it was. Fantastic, doing adverts for bread. Hilarious.
Brilliant.
His name.
No, have to move on. We can't give you the holiday in Barbados, Dave. You've still got the speedboat.
Come back to me in a minute.
But give me another 10 seconds, Dave.
No, it'll come back to me. Wait a minute.
Psychological trick. Completely let it go.
Let's take a break.
Come back to you. Trust me, it works.
Neil,
just let it go.
Let's take a break. No, let's come back. Oh, Dave Bagley's still there. And hopes that right, come on. Right, tell us about Warburtons.
Yeah, of course. After all of those, they get meat. So that's we're looking at linear here, you know. So what happened? Warburton's big bakery, and all over the country, all over the world, you can get their products. But
I actually thought it was just. I had no idea. I just thought it was the UK with Mr. Warburton running everything.
No, you can. No, there's no different countries you'll find. I mean, they get it on some flights. You can get it as well now.
Okay.
But they've always. I mean, they're huge. They've always given a lot of products out to community groups. So if there's a school doing breakfast clubs, they've always supported those. And because they're all over, we're concentrating on the UK. They've always supported. But what they're doing now is they've just launched this Warburtons Foundation, which is a bit of a game changer. They've just really raised the bar. So they've now said that they're going to, make 1 million products available for free for community groups, organizations that are supporting people. And that's a mammoth donation. They've added money to it. So community groups can now apply to the foundation for finances. So that can help them with their infrastructure costs. And they're also doing something that is out there. Lots of us are talking about it. it's a word we don't like because it's got lots of connotation, but education. But it's the education in its broadest sense.
Sorry, why? I've got to stop you. Why? Because I know what the audience will be thinking. Why do we suddenly not like the word education?
I've never
I
heard
love
that
the
word
word
being
education.
Well, as an
mentioned.
adult, adults don't necessarily. So children, education's fine for children, but when it's adults, it's something that they're, if they're experiencing education being negative, then the idea that they should be taught something as adults, we don't often like that as adults to be told, I need to teach you something.
But every day, Dave, every day is a school day.
Oh, yes.
And I think if you don't learn something, it doesn't matter what it is, it could just be a word. My dad died many, many years ago, 22 years ago. He'd try and learn a word a day. He'd always do that. And he was not an educated, he wasn't an educated man at all, but he always tried to learn a new word a day, which I loved about him. I thought that was great. I always tried to learn something. I don't know why. This is it. When you got the Kardashians who make billions by being idiots, well, clearly they're not in terms of marketing. People think, well, I don't need to be educated. I could be as thick as they are. And as vacuous.
I think Dave's nailed it, though, because if people have got a negative association with the word education, and then we don't like being told what to do. But for me, I absolutely love learning, but if people have got negative associations like being shown up in class or something like that, that's the kind of thing that closes people down. So I hear what you're saying.
I get it. If you've had a rubbish time at school, the last thing you want to do. But it's weird. It's weird. Anyway, I'm sorry. We interrupted you. So you got
Indeed. So education, Dave.
Yeah, and the education being broad. So it is about experience. It's about the relationship we have. Thank you. George Clooney. Got on Paul. Well done. Thank you very much indeed. And Snoop. Look at them. Look at those. He's got them all on there. Well done.
Presumably Snoop Dogg smokes the Warburtons. I can't imagine what else he does with it. Or does he put dope inside it and just rolls up the loaf?
Yeah.
Just got a big Warburtons.
And after all those names, and now you got me. That's the bit that I'm really digging here today. So Paul, you've just made my life.
Well, even in California, or indeed on the Sorrento coast, George Clooney is saying, "You know what? I got everything, but I'm not Dave Bagley." and that's how he goes through life. Let's be honest about it. Let's not kill ourselves.
Keeps him awake at night.
It does. That's why his hair went
honestly,
grey.
all I need to do, I need to go visit with him, don't I? And
look, knock on his door. Don't even say him, "Hi, I'm Dave," and he'll go,
knocking on.
Believe you're here. Unbelievable. Right. So you got Warburtons. They're putting all this dosh in. I've got a very important question to ask you in a minute, and I'm going to need your help because I think this is something you can do. It's seriously. But anyway, so Warburtons come in. You've hooked up with these guys, or what's the deal?
So we've had a relationship with them for the best part of sort of 30 years with the product. So we do some stuff around in the holidays for children who would have had a free school meal in school times. We've provided them with lunches for many, many years. Warburtons have given us the buns for it to go in. We do Christmas hampers for families. They've helped us out with products. So we've always benefited from it, and so have many others. So we're not unique at all. But this foundation is kind of that's the game changer. They want to now make it becomes part of the structure for voluntary organisations and charities to say, I can go to the foundation and I can get some help and some support and a relationship. I think the beautiful thing about it is that it's not just where you can shake them down and say, oh, if it's free, it's for me. It's actually, what is it within that whole company? How can I benefit from their skill sets and that relationship? Because when you're a small organisation and you've got a big corporation like Warburtons or any, and they join you at a street level, you feel like you feel like you got a big brother, a big sister, a big buddy.
Right.
It's quite amazing.
It's huge. It's huge. Before I ask you my question, which is a very serious question, it's something which has bugged me for quite some years. Who at Warburtons? No, it's not a joke. It's a serious thing. At Warburtons, was it because they were a family firm and they've got a family ethic, or what? Why were they so interested in society? Like other people just make bread.
Yeah. Did it start with one man setting up a stall in 1842 in a London street or something?
It's very much that, absolutely. It goes all the way through. So the name isn't just the name of the company. The guys involved in it. So the three at the top, a family, and they are all Warburtons. And so it's still in the family. And absolutely, it's not a corporation that is distant. They're local. I mean, it's easy for me to say it because I live in a town where they are. But you don't go on a motorway without.
So are they based in Bolton?
They have their headquarters is in Bolton. Yeah,
Right.
that makes them a local firm to us. So we own them. I believe that they are ours. They're an institution belonging to Bolton. We're happy to share, but they are our institution. So we are being generous at this. Out of the largest town in the country comes a real kindness and love.
Here's my question. So you've answered that. And I get that explains so much. They're not a name that's been bought out by a bunch of hedge fund operators who couldn't give a monkey's strip the assets and sod the consumer. Here's my question to you, and I think if you wanted to add something extra to urban outreach, I will work with you on this.
Okay.
No. I don't know if you're laughing because you're nervous because you think, hey, let's go to Mars.
No,
let's beat Elon Musk to Mars. No, it's a realistic thing. It's a realistic thing. One of my twins, some years ago in the school holidays, got a job working to make some dosh because they're both enterprising, and worked at I'm going to say it, Chelsea Football Ground, because I just happened to know someone who had a stall there, and they needed people to hand out hot dogs and burger, the absolute hot dog burger thing like that. And he was just the assistant and doing all the stuff, right? Okay, and he made some money at the weekends, which was good, at home games. And what he said to me was, Dad, at the end of the match, when everyone goes home, there is so much food left. So much food. I mean, tons. And it's fresh. Sausages, hot dogs, bread, burger buns, everything you can imagine. I said, oh, what happens to it? He says, they throw it away. And I went, what do you mean they throw it away? He says, it's awful. They throw it away. And I said, well, hang on a minute. With so many people, if you've got a situation with food banks, and you got people who need that, why are they throwing fresh food away? And he said, because they don't want the people who need that food hanging around the ground. Bad image. You with me? You've got a multi-billion.
They're not heard of distribution outlets for this kind of thing.
So my point was, Neil, was this: if you're paying a player $200,000 a week, right? You can hire some vans, right? Put the food in the van. Drive into the car park where all these stalls are. Put the food into a van, take it to a distribution point, as Neil is absolutely right.
Terrible waste.
And I'm thinking, why won't they do that? Money. For them, it's chump change.
I know.
They wouldn't even notice it.
I know, and I respect image. I get that, but that's fine.
So, Dave, my question to you is: I would imagine that this wastage. I know it's a drop in the ocean. I know that, but the longest journey starts with one step. And I bet that's replicated at Premier League clubs and other clubs all over the country. There's tons of food which would make sandwiches, which would make burgers, which they could use.
I mean, we are in the times now where that is probably far more on people's radar, I think. I mean, I agree. There are some large organisations. One in particular, Fair Share, they pick up quite a lot of sort of what you might call stuff, the stuff that is no longer needed. We collect as a charity every day from supermarkets so that they don't have as much waste. And in fact, which is a completely different story, but during the pandemic, we have this big humanitarian hub that we opened. So we fed about 250,000 people during the pandemic and out of it with food and stuff that were in need. And we bought it, which was a thing you just don't do. So we had to raise just short of 1.5 million. We bought that. And then another organization came along with some more money and bought the rest of this retail park. Now we're going to be moving our food game up. So we're going to put in an industrial composter, because There's some of the stuff you can't use. So some of the stuff that comes out the back door, some of the stuff that may be coming off of the forecourts or these courts may not be able to be used, but they can be composted as long as it's not meat. Meat is problematic for you can do it, but putting meat back into the food chain is quite awkward, but it can be done. But if you're talking about green stuff or bread or stuff like that, we separate out the stuff that we can give. That goes into the donations going out, that goes to our pantries that are out in the community, and people are able to help themselves to those. So we reduce the waste down. And then where there is waste, let's compost it and let's put that back into the ground with growing projects and encourage people in schools, because lots of schools have growing projects now, so that we can use that waste so we're not putting it into landfill and it's not just going to waste. But we are still early. It's still early stages of thinking about that, because I think it's a very expensive cost. And you're right, when there's a lot of money in it, they will be able to afford it. But often, we have 2 vans, we run those 2 vans, and there's a cost around those vans. So you're forever raising money to pay for those vans. But we collect food every single day and we distribute food every single day. So, and all the food that we distribute at the moment is still delivered to people's doors, because of the number of people that are requiring it. We haven't got a building big enough for people to come to, because
So you got to do it individually. So
we have volunteers. So during the pandemic, we had 2,000 volunteers, of which 1,000 of those were drivers, and we've managed some of those. They're still with us, and they deliver to families. Now that number is reducing out of the pandemic, and now we're moving into that new phase where the cost of living is changing and people are struggling. So we are changing our model. We have things called pantries. We have 4 of these out in the communities. We will grow these and develop them. Lots of different initiatives are out there. But you're absolutely right, Russ. We cannot as a civilized society forever live with this disposable attitude. If it can be used, we should use it. And it's not about saying, because you haven't got it, we'll give you the worst of it. It's not that. It's about all of us should have that in our minds. Let's not waste what we can use. Let's, if it's not usable, let's compost it. Let's grow stuff. Let's give it to, people who are growing stuff. But we need to move away from this disposable, throwaway thought process.
Oh, it's horrible. It's horrible.
It is. It's not good.
And it also shows that there's more than enough. With an attitude like that, it's quite an abundant attitude, isn't it, Dave? Because there is literally just more than enough to go around. And it just demonstrates it. And it's interesting, because most people go around thinking there's not enough, there's not enough, there's not enough. We're very big on lack.
There is enough.
But there isn't really. Not from that point of view, not at all. It just needs some.
I'm going to segue this you two, because I used to live in America, and this person I'm bringing on, you know her, you love her, also lived in America, and of course that's the center of just disposable everything. She is, of course, with her OBE, Chantal Rickards.
For 6 to 9 months.
You're on now.
Again.
You're on now, Chantas.
Oh, sorry.
Boo.
Hello.
Good morning.
What I was saying was this, just to this is the most amazing chap. His name is Dave Bagley, and he's been dazzling us with what he's been talking about. Disposable society. You lived in the States. I lived in the States.
Yeah.
I've never seen such waste in my life.
Terrible.
It's awful.
Not only terrible amounts of food waste.
Oh, your sound is not good today.
Not good?
No.
Oh, I think it's because I've changed my computer around. So maybe I should go back to the old system.
Whatever it was, because you sound like you're in the room next door. Okay. I don't mean next door to me, which would be delightful. I mean, it sounds like I'll take you off for a moment and you sort yourself out. There we go. But the amount of waste is, when you go to an American restaurant and, you say, can I have breakfast or something? And they bring up enough for like 5 people. You go, no, I just want it for me. Yeah, that's for you, sir. And you say, oh, God, what are they going to do with the rest of it? Chuck it all away. It's Dave, I have to say this about you. People who achieve so much are usually the most, and you are an absolute exemplar of this, the most sort of modest, down to earth. And you know, I'm reeling by what you've done, because the breadth and scope of what you've set out to do is pretty jaw dropping. You know, just one of those aspects would have been enough. Would have been delighted to have you on the show just for that. But you know, you're covering such a broad church of activity. Bravo! It's fantastic, really is.
Well, you are very kind, honestly.
No, I'm not. I'm honest. I'm not that kind.
Well,
I'm not really kind in real life.
You know.
Veronica Curran, who's so supportive of what we do at Men's Radio. Glasgow Homeless has a fabulous street food ethic. Russ, I'll send a link. Cooked meals, beg your pardon. Shopping supplies, clothing, animal care. The volume is heartwarming. How nice is that?
Yeah.
This
is the kind of, you know, this is the movement that's in, we're going in the right direction. I think we've become far more conscious of waste now. I mean, part of the park that we're developing around this thing is also renewables. So we are trying, you know, in that to help people to contemplate a world that is more accessible. And I mean, we have this thing that we call the power of one. And so we have 280,000 people in Bolton. So if you take 80,000 of those are children and young people, let's let them be children and young people and have a whole shed load of fun. 100,000 people might be in a different situation, maybe struggling or maybe in a different place. You're left with 100,000 people. If 100,000 people all give one thing, you have 100,000 items. If when you go shopping, instead of big shops, everybody just bought one thing to contribute, you've got 100,000 items each week. And that's just in Bolton. You roll that out, everybody puts one thing in, does one thing, gives one thing, then that's earth-shattering.
I agree. And so simple and doable as well.
All the best, you know, the thing is, all the best ideas, actually,
all the best
the trick is to have the idea, but the best ideas are always very simple. Yeah, apart from let's have an electric car. Dave Bagley, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Can I ask you something quickly, Dave?
You could ask me anything within reason.
Okay. How did this all start? Did you just wake up one morning? Have you always been quite an altruistic chap? I mean, how did this happen, this desire to just give back to the community in such a massive way?
You know, Neil, we were only talking so absurdly. We were just chatting about this the other day. I don't know. Is it in your? Is it genetic? Is it bringing up? Is it? I have, and we did this with when we got our MBEs. We were able to do it in Bolton. I mentioned that. So I'm adopted. I'm a massive fan of adoption. A massive fan of fostering. A massive fan of that's just us doing our bit in the right way. So is it that? Is it sitting there me thinking, you know what? Somebody chose me and gave me a whole opportunity to live the most incredible life, to grow up in all sorts of places. Does that alter the way I see life? Does it change the way I think about it? Maybe. But I do believe it sits within every single one of us, even those people who have struggled and life has gone horribly wrong. There's still an inherent desire within us to do something good, something nice, something that just benefits somebody else. Because
something
that
purposeful.
Is the boomerang of life.
I think it feels good to give as well, and of course that affirms the abundance that we have because we've got it to give. So it's a virtuous circle. One more very quick one, if you don't mind. You look really well, radiantly well, and you seem so busy. What do you do for self-care? How do you keep yourself looking and feeling good?
He eats Warburton's bread, 2 loaves a day.
Apart from that,
so I eat butter because it's good for you. I have a dog. I have a fantastic.
That's all I need to know.
I have grandchildren, but I have a German Shepherd called Bounty, who was here with me just now. She's gone downstairs, but she,
Was she engineering the call? Was she doing that with her little paws?
She what?
Was she engineering the call with her little paws? You know, doing the volume.
Very clever like that. But I just think, you know what? It's I'm out there to. I want to win it, you know, for somebody else, and I have no. Do I have a stupid thing? No, I can't be completely altruistic. So it's never going to just be about everybody else, is it? But I enjoy my life. I enjoy the job I do. I get
It's
to
a
choose.
balance. I think you're in the realm of kind of life purpose here. It's where you clearly are full, but no one can give from an empty cup. But so you have to sort of fill yourself up first. But then, my God, when you're full, can you overflow? And it's what you're doing. It's overflowing from a place of fullness.
Will you come back?
Yes.
Because you're one of these extraordinary
Thank you,
people
Dave.
that you come across. Would you come back and talk to us again?
I would love to. Yeah, this is the most eclectic interview I've ever been involved in.
Yeah, people tend to say that.
I call many things, but never eclectic.
Absolutely eclectic. I love the word, and I love you lot. You are brilliant.
Likewise, Dave. It's been amazing to meet you, man.
I will leave you to your world and
our world. No, please.
again.
You're welcome
Come
to
back
my
again.
world. I want to swap. Dave Bagley up in Bolton. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us. We will see you
Thanks,
again.
Dave.
And that's a promise, not a threat, by the way.
Love
Bye-bye.
Chantal, I've got to tell you, I watched one of your recommendations.
Oh, you did? Which one?
The DNA Code of a Killer. Oh my God, that's good.
Yeah. Did you enjoy it?
I loved it. I recommended it to my daughter because she's a scientist and she loves true crime. So it's right up her street.
Excellent. Good.
Well, I shall pass that on. What delights have you got for us today?
Well, I don't know. And just to follow up on that, I'm glad that, to get the feedback, because I recommended Hacks last week.
Oh,
and
yes.
And actually, Russ was very kind to drop me a note in the middle of the week saying that he'd rattled through it and really enjoyed it.
Fantastic.
And then Elizabeth Green from New York dropped me a note to say that she'd watched it too and she totally loved it. So it's great to get some good feedback.
Oh, I got to tell you, Hacks. I don't
never
take up
doubted
your
you, Chantal.
time because we talked about it last week. You talked about it last week. I'd never heard of it. Best recommendation. The wittiest script. The casting was incredible. I thought it was the best representation of Los Angeles that I'd seen, when she was driving down the road and saw someone she'd used to work with and just stops the car. And those are all the little sort of restaurants and cafes that I used to hang in, the ones that are on the street. You know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
And like Jones on Third and stuff like that. And I thought, oh God, this is absolutely it.
Yeah.
This is it. Can I do it very quickly before you get into your thing?
Go for it.
It's nearly the anniversary of my closest friend Francis passing in Los Angeles. So the first time I went out and spent time with him, what was it? Oh God, yeah, I went out. We had it was ages ago when I was involved with a film company, and of course someone said, "Oh, gee, your accent and all this, the usual nonsense in Los Angeles. I love the way you talk, and what do you do?" And I made the mistake of saying I was representing a film production company. God. Would this waitress, I mean, charming as she was, would she go? She had this in, this was working, and her boyfriend's working on that. And I thought, oh my God. So I said to Francis, he said, never do that in Los Angeles. No. Never say you're involved. So the next time I took his advice, I said, what do you do? Oh, I sell life insurance. God, she went away. And I can have my meal in peace.
No, but actually you could have some real fun with that, because I got to understand exactly the same thing from the same experience. Every time I got in an Uber driver, in an Uber, the driver, who invariably was an out of work actor, would say to me, "What do you do?" And I'd go, "Oh, I run BAFTA, the British Academy of Film and Television."
Oh, big mistake.
That was it, big mistake. So after about 2 months, I thought, I can't cope with any more scripts arriving in my inbox from random taxi drivers. So I just used to make up a career. When I just go, oh, well, I'd often say I'm a charity worker, which was true because BAFTA is a charity, so to sort of put them off. And then that would close all conversation down. So that was pretty good. Occasionally I would say I was in the restaurant business, and I'd say, tell me about restaurants around here. What do you know and what do you like? And it was quite a good way of having, just passing the time of day between LAX and the office.
Precisely.
But anyway.
But whatever you do, everybody listening all over the world, if you go to Los Angeles, never say you're in the entertainment industry. Trust me, everyone's got something in development, or their boyfriend or their girlfriend. It's a nightmare. Right, there we go.
It is.
Right. Your recommendations, if you
Well,
please.
my recommendation this week, actually, it's a bit of a telly story because, having grown up in television, I still love television. I love stories about television. But I also ran a cookery network in the UK. There's something called the Carlton Food Network, which became the Taste Network. And eventually the BBC cottoned onto the idea that a food network was a good idea. And so they launched BBC a food channel, which is still going today. And very well watched by lots of people who are great food enthusiasts. But when I was making food programs, I attempted to interview a woman in Boston called Julia Child. Now, in actual fact, the interview fell through at the last minute, but prior to doing some research on that show, I'd never heard of Julia Child. I didn't realize how significant she was. And she was the sort of the British equivalent of, I suppose, Elizabeth David. She brought the best of French cooking to America. Americans still not very good at having food influences from around the world, but much better than they used to.
Foreign.
That was foreign, exactly, foreign food. But Julia Child had spent time overseas. She was a cookery writer, and when she came back from France, she started writing wonderful cookery books. And she fell by mistake into a career in television. She was on a book show and talking about her book, which was beginning to be widely sold. This about 1963, widely sold in the US. And she said, "Can I just show you how to cook an omelette?" Now, clearly, she'd got a little sort of baby belling ready at the side with, a couple of eggs, and she showed them how to make the perfect omelette, which was still then, an omelette was really something that was a bit rarefied. So off she went with this omelette, and then that sort of, gave rise to the idea of her doing food on television, which went on something called WGBH, which was an education channel, a public service.
Oh, yeah.
Education channel. And there's a big fight at the beginning about cookery classes aren't educational. This shouldn't even sit on our channel.
Of course they are.
Exactly, indeed they are. And food tells you so much about the world anyway. Anyway, this is a bit of a preamble to what is, probably after Hacks, the best thing I have seen this year. It features Sarah Lancashire as this 6'2" American woman.
I love her.
Sarah Lancashire, I mean, who would have thunk it? But the casting is phenomenal. It was actually supposed to be Joan Cusack, American actress, who I think would have been great, but not as good as Sarah Lancashire. She's married to a guy called Paul. That was supposed to be Tom Hollander, but turned out to be David Hyde Pierce, who you will remember as Niles from Frasier. And the two of them are the central characters in this 8-part series. Beautifully made. It sits on Netflix. The first 5 episodes are there, and they're eking them out now week by week, which is slightly irritating to say the least. And it's just perfection. It's a wonderful television series. It looks brilliant. The dialogue is spectacular. And Sarah Lancashire just shows you what enormous range she's got. We know her from Happy Valley. We know her as a sort of slightly grumpy northerner. She's not any of those things in this extraordinary story about this extraordinary woman who was a phenomenon in America. And it absolutely has to be watched.
What's it called?
It's called Julia. Why change the title?
Called Julia.
It's called Julia. There have been other films.
Writing it down.
About her, Julia. There was one, I think, with Meryl Streep. There was one, I think, with who else? Can't remember. Anyway, they've done it a couple of times before as a movie, but this is a 8-part drama series, and really worth watching.
I love Sarah Lancashire. I think she is so talented.
She's absolutely phenomenal. I had no idea how good her range is, and also
Nor me.
Voice is completely authentic, because I went online to look at Julia Child and listen to her voice to see how close Sarah Lancashire's is, and it's absolutely, she's nailed it, completely nailed it.
I thought she was great in Happy Valley, which, I mean, she's been in so many of those dramas that they don't pull punches, or like Kira and Happy Valley and all that sort of thing. It's real, don't pull any punch type stuff, but I absolutely love her for it. But I never knew about this. This is, my opinion of her was high already, and it's now gone off the charts.
Yeah. No, she's so great at looking miserable. But
yes, I thought that's what she was. I just thought she was like,
she's joyful.
She gives Nicola Walker
she gives
Nicola Walker a good run for her money in the Misery Stakes. Nicola Walker, my favourite actress.
I love Nicola Walker.
The best.
She can do no wrong.
Just
absolutely.
Incredible. And when you see a picture of her smiling, you go, "Who the hell's that?" And you realise she's just acting. She's not actually miserable at all. She's just acting. That's the role, Quick diversion.
Yeah.
I gotta get into it because you're at the heart of it. Johny Depp, Amber Heard, extraordinary to watch, revolting to watch, horrible to listen to. ghastly, necessary? What's your take on it?
No, I just think we've heard it once in the British courts. I don't think we really need to hear it all over again.
Horrible.
It's not good listening. It's not. There's no edification that comes out of knowing anything about the story of Depp and Heard. And I would simply just not take part in the tittle tattle around it. It's just awful. I mean, it's a horrible breakdown of a relationship that was clearly toxic. And I just don't want to know any more about it. I mean, sadly, he's a brilliant actor.
Yes.
Hollywood has sort of had nearly forgiven him, and they were just about to sort of start giving him roles again. In fact, he had been bubbling up in a couple of roles, but this could take him all the way back again. I just don't think we need to know about it. And I have no idea why this is playing out in public. I really don't. They've
God knows.
just got stuck.
God knows. Because it's for the money, isn't it? It was all finished. She got a $7 million settlement, which she said she donated to charity, although the paperwork demonstrating that donation not quite visible yet.
Okay. Well, you're telling me something I didn't know.
And then he sued for defamation for 50. He countersued because what was it? No, God. Anyway, it was all finished and done, and he could have got back to being a fantastic actor.
Yeah.
Right. And then it went civil. So they went out of that, and she's suing for 100 million, and he's suing for 50 million. I mean, the money is insane.
I mean, clearly it's an abusive relationship that continues to be abusive, and somebody needs to tell them to stop.
I can't work out which way it was, whether it was one or the other or both.
It was if you listen to the tapes, which I was doing yesterday, and I'm sorry to say this, and I wanted the reason I led into this is I would like to do a special show all about abusive relationships and how people try to get out of them, what being in it is like.
I've got the perfect guest for you. I know someone
we'll talk about that. Fabulous. Thank you, Neil. But you know what it is she was, I know this sounds dreadful and you might get cross, but you listen to the tape and all the evidence is there that she was the abuser. And because he's Johny Depp, he didn't want to be seen as male. He didn't want to be seen as being what he described her as a nice name for a cat. I'll leave it like that if you're with me. And and so he pretended he'd got hurt in sliding, and what she did was horrible. Yeah, horrible.
I think they need a good bout of psychotherapy, the pair of them, to be honest.
It's not good, but I do know someone who's working with him who said he's really very nice. But you got to understand, and Chantal, you will get this before we get onto your recommendations, but when you're at home and you're watching this stuff and you're in Neasden or you're in Bermondsey or you're something, they don't lead a life that we can comprehend.
No.
Because
absolutely.
He worked on a film with a very, very dear friend of mine who produced the film called The Rom Diaries. And he said, I've got to go. I can't work this time. So it's my daughter's birthday party. And you can go, oh, that's nice. So, of course, it's the private jet. We'd expect that. What we wouldn't expect is that several streets are closed off just for a little girl's birthday party with police cordons and everything else. We're excited if we get a cake from Tesco's and go, oh, happy birthday, sweetheart. We don't get a private jet and we don't close off several blocks.
I do.
You do, because it's your special.
Sorry, mate. Speak for yourself. I mean, because I'm still really famous.
I've walked into it, haven't I? But you know, they don't live lives that we can even begin to comprehend. And then when they're interviewed on these chat shows, they come across as they're not normal people.
No, their life is very exaggerated for people who are in the spotlight and earning large amounts of money. Everything gets exaggerated.
Do you remember you and I were seeing a venue in Los Angeles, and this is how it works? And
we did. I'd forgotten that.
We were walking around. You were doing a huge event, of course, being Chantal. And I said, "Oh, she said," and you said, "Do you want to come?" I said, "Great." I had nothing else to do. I went around, and these guys, and they said, and all you said was, "Do you have something in case somebody wants to do a Leo?" And this whole team, and I'm standing there like a complete schmuck going, I have no idea what they're talking about, are doing a Leo. And they knew exactly what you meant. So it's just extraordinary, the lengths that everybody, curtail,
Yeah.
embraces whatever
The
they
closest I ever got to that, I have to share, it's when I was at Capitol and Chris Moyles had joined, and he did this on-air blag. We were both going to some sort of awards party with the red carpeters because we got with black tickets, and he said he put out on air, "I want a limo," and it was like, lo and behold, someone rings up, "I'll take you and your girlfriend and me and my girlfriend at the time, who was called Sarah, in a limo," and I'm like, yes, and of course, for me, this is just Neil Long luck. Halfway there, the limo broke down. So these people dressed up to the nines had to leg it out of a limo and leg it to the tube station, like tube station or something. I mean, that could only happen to me. And I thought, you know what? This is just not meant to be. True story.
I think Russ was referring to the fact that Leo DiCaprio normally arrives at parties always through the back door, through the service entrance.
I guessed it was DiCaprio, yeah.
So
Unless we're talking about Leo Sayer, maybe he's a bit pretentious. I don't know.
No, Leo's not. Leo's lovely. He's been on the show. He phoned in one. And
Is
then
he
was on
really?
the show
Leo
for an
Sayer.
hour.
I love Leo. Orchard Road. What a song. Anyway, sorry.
There we go. Carry on with your recommendations. I'm so sorry.
No, not at all. This is what we're here for, to have a good old chat about what's going on in film and television and all the silliness that goes with it. But I did want to persuade people to go back into the cinema again. We talked last week about the 60th anniversary of James Bond. So do not forget that From Russia with Love comes out tomorrow. Lots of great actors in it that we will all remember. Robert Shaw as one of the baddies. The fabulous Rosa Klebb character that is introduced, who always had the most dynamic pair of shoes, if anybody can remember that. Really worth watching. So that's the second film in the playing out of the 25 movies from the entire Bond experience. But also, if you've got a chance, you should see Dune. Now, if you didn't see it at the cinema, and it is still on in some places at the cinema, but it's also just arrived on Sky Cinema. So you can stay at home and watch it on the biggest screen you've got at home, because the visuals are incredible. It's a science fiction film. I'm not crazy about sci-fi, because normally I can't really quite understand what's going on and it seems to be happening too quickly. But actually, the story here is very straightforward. The big star in it is young Timothée Chalamet, who I think is still only about 24 or 25, has the most extraordinary Hollywood career ahead of him and already behind him. He's been in some fantastic movies, but he plays a character called Paul Atreides. He has to go to a planet in the worst part of the universe, and he has to save his family.
East Croydon.
Anyway, the story's sort of irrelevant, but what you need to know is it was nominated for 10 Oscars. It won 6, mostly in the technical categories, but it was also nominated as Best Movie, and it's really worth watching. Directed by the Canadian director Denis Villeneuve, and it's a good story. It's well acted, and it's to be recommended, but watch it on a big screen.
Isn't it a reboot?
Yeah. They did it in 80-something.
I remember Dune when I was growing up.
It was 80-something. Yes. It
has been done before. 2 movies, in fact, have been done before from the James Herbert book. But both now have been sort of slightly discredited. People thought that actually they were inscrutable for one. This is why I actually quite like this story, because it's very simple to follow. I think the earlier iterations of Dune were not good. But this is the first part of what is going to become a sort of 2-part epic.
So I'll see that, because I wasn't planning on seeing that, but if you're recommending it, I will take
almost
that on.
Unfilmable. The book is almost unfilmable. The best comment I heard about Dune, it's such a shame that the name Spice World has been taken. Because it's all about spice.
It is. You're right. It is all about spices.
So they just got to call it Spice World and brought back Baby and Posh and Ginger.
No, it's worth watching. It's been a big box office success. I think it cost something like $150 million, but it's made about $400 million. So that's deemed to be a success.
Yeah, my buddy at work went to see it and he loved it.
Yeah, no, it's a good one. And then I found actually sort of very quickly interesting something called The Pharmacist, which is on Netflix. It's a 4-parter, 1 hours, a true crime series about the opioid crisis, but it's from a personal perspective, and it's really excellent. That's The Pharmacist on Netflix.
I wish we had the time, because this week Netflix stock plummeted by 37%.
It did.
And they say, and as certain quarters are saying, go woke, go broke.
Oh, well, we'll chat about that next week.
That's a big thing. Chantal, thank you so much, as
No
always.
problem.
Lovely to see
Fabulous
you again, Chantal.
recommendation.
Yeah,
Thank you
good
for the
seeing you.
recommendations. I
Enjoy
always
the
end up
weekend,
learning
guys.
more than before I came.
Always. Neil Long, you crazy man. I hope whoever it was has found the power cable by now.
The power cable
that
is
was
in.
an exciting. It was an exciting interlude. Have a wonderful weekend. We will be back Monday, bright and breezy for me, which is 12 noon. Until then, stay safe. Bye bye, everybody.